My name is Walter Sleeth. I have lived in Atherton for 23 years. My family, including my wife and grandsons, aged 11 and 8, often use the current library. My wife, Judy Sleeth, the founder and current executive director of Art in Action, joins me in support of Measure F to build a new library in Holbrook-Palmer Park. The current building is an antique, reminding me of the small library in the upstate New York village of 3,000 residents where I grew up. We should not have to continue here in Atherton to depend on this almost 60-year-old non-earthquake safe converted home. Our children need a library that will provide the services they need in our current technological world. Our adults need a place where they can easily access information and services. About a year ago, the possibility of a new library came to my attention. In response to the many notices issued by the city clerk for community input, I attended several sessions in the summer and fall of 2011. Now to hear those opposing Measure F state that there was no opportunity to offer input to the legally constituted subcommittee of the council and say that alternative sites were not exhaustively studied is just plain wrong. It is upsetting that some of those individuals take such liberty with what in fact happened. Much time and effort went into seeking input and having the independent consultant analyze the alternative sites. Many of those now demonstrating such vituperation never showed up at the meetings where input was sought. The individuals who gave of their time to try to determine what was best for the community are to be praised, not criticized. A library in Holbrook-Palmer Park is not a new issue here in Atherton. In February 1959, a report by Louis J. Kroger and Associates stated on the basis of a survey of every third household, quote, "The single greatest interest expressed in response to the questionnaire was for library service." Quote, "Those opposed to the site recommendation of the independent consulting firm LSA seem to believe that one, the peacefulness of the Holbrook-Palmer Park will be lessened, and that two, if the no's prevail, the funds will be available for other uses. They are blinded by their own obstructionism. Clearly the park is a lovely bucolic piece of land. The new library will allow the peacefulness of the park to continue. The critics have failed to do their homework on uses preferred by Mrs. Palmer, who gave the site. The will and the probate court documents make it very plain that Mrs. Palmer's intention was to allow for a, quote, "building thereon for public museum or auditorium purposes," which is consistent with the use of said property as a public recreational park, end quote. It has been independently determined in the environmental report that neither parking nor traffic issues are really significant, certainly no more than all the traffic at times in the Station Lane intersection. The current funds available, about $5.5 million, are legally required to be used for library purposes, thus negating other creative uses suggested. Soon after Proposition 13 was passed in 1978, an agreement was made to fund San Mateo County Library System with a small percentage of the property taxes collected. Another and separate bucket was provided for the individual school districts. The individual jurisdictions on their own do not have the authority to make changes in the allocation under these historical agreements. By voting yes on Measure F, we can build a brand new library with the most up-to-date materials and technologies with no additional cost to taxpayer. That's because the funding for construction and operation of a new library are already in place. Building a new library at the site of the existing main house will allow for a quieter library and connect the library's program to the outdoor areas of the park. A new library will complement the other activities in the park, for instance, after-school athletics with academic activities. In addition, the library will continue to serve as a place for community events, replacing the outdated and costly main house, which, contrary to some public perceptions, has been a drain on the town's budget. Goals for the library include an extremely flexible structure with movable shelving and the most modern building infrastructure. The maintenance budget for the new library itself will give budget relief for upkeep at the park. While the issue of high-speed rail remains uncertain, there are people close to the politics involved that insist that whether it is high-speed rail or electrification of Caltrain, the event will happen. Putting a library in the town center would be a fool's errand. The current location, or one north on Station Lane as part of the town center area, is not an optimal long-term solution to a most important infrastructure improvement for our town. I encourage all of you to vote yes on Measure F. It is the right thing to do for the future of our community. Thank you.